Folks, almost too much show, and I think we can only really get into it if we just go straight into the reviews.
What are you doing tonight?
I'm gonna have dinner with Ben.
Lucy, he's in love with you. You have to put him out of his misery and F him already. Oh.
I'm gonna go.
Why?
You just catapulted off the bed when I got close to you.
Question mark. Am I okay? Question mark.
Question. You only really needed one question mark there. Look, I think you're doing fine, Dan. I think as a friend, I can say you are a man of rare integrity and better than average personal hygiene. Maybe not the second one. Okay, now, am I okay? You're absolutely right. This is a Dakota Johnson joint. Now, those that know me know that I'm a fan. I've enjoyed her work. I even, and you'll recall on this very podcast, stood up for her turn as one Madam Web only a few months ago. So I am in the Dakota Johnson corner. She does good film and television mostly. In this one, which was shot, I think, 3 years ago and kind of caused a bit of a buzz at the Sundance Film Festival, but was shelved for a long period of time. It's turned up on Max for our US listeners and Binge here in Australia. She plays Lucy. Lucy is a woman without too much direction in life, just sort of clocked over 30 years of age and is struggling a little bit in the romantic stakes and trying to find her place in the world. She's a receptionist at a day spa center where she's not really given too much to do. She secretly is a painter and a very good painter, but isn't really ambitious to try her hand at making a go of that as a professional career. Most of all, she is struggling with same-sex attraction. She part of the reason she can't find a guy is, of course, she wants a girl, but she can't admit that to herself. And she certainly can't admit that to her best friend, Jane, played by the wonderful Sonoya Mizuna, who I didn't know until I saw her credit list, and I realized I've seen her in quite a few things. Most notably, she was the fellow android opposite Alicia Vikander in Ex Machina, who does that very cool dance with Oscar Isaac about halfway through. And she's a British actress who's done some terrific work, and she's terrific opposite Dakota Johnson in this. She is exactly the opposite. She has a high-paying career, is very extroverted, has no trouble scoring with the guys, and has a lot of other lady friends, but is really only Dakota Johnson's closest friend. And she is very supportive and very determined to find a partner for Dakota's character when Dakota finally comes out and realizes that she may be attracted to women. And she's going through a whole lot of terrible sort of doubts and personal anguish over this decision. So what you have is this coming out story. And it tells that very beautifully and very honestly with very frank and raw discussion and with a lot of humor as well. You also have this terrific story about two friends, and one of them just happens to be someone coming to terms with their sexuality. Another one is a woman who's about to move to London to take up a position. So there's this strain on their friendship. This goes through the final weeks before Jane heads off to London and how their friendship survives this. So it has a lot of elements to it. It's also got the wonderful Molly Gordon in it, who we know from Shiver Baby, and I'll be talking about her a little bit later in another show that we've watched. But
you know where I know her from, Simon? I know her from The Bear.
Yeah, exactly right. We're going to get onto that very soon. And so what you have here is this very sweet, bittersweet, I would say, drama comedy that tells a lot of truths. I'm burying the lead here a little bit. It's co-written by and co-directed by Tig Notaro, who we're all fans of, and she made this movie a couple of years back and deserved a lot more attention with it rather than just a streaming premiere. It could have done it's that nice sort of middle ground movie that you don't see in cinemas too often, and we've mentioned that on the podcast previously, but we should see in movies more often, in theaters more often. So Am I Okay is a big thumbs up from Old Man Foster. Really enjoyed it.
Okay, so a couple of things, just backtracking here. So you buried the lead and then got the lead a little bit wrong. So Tig Notaro wasn't a co-writer on this one. It was written by Lauren Pomeranz, but Tig Notaro is a co-director on this one with Stephanie Allian.
Yep.
Stephanie Allian is someone who I'm pretty sure her background is mostly being a sort of LA-based sketch performer. But the reason why I know both her and Tig Notaro as a power creative duo is that the two of them back in I'm going to say about like 2015 when Prime Video first started really getting cracking with a lot of its originals. Tig Notaro
Mhm.
was given the chance to do her own program for Prime Video, and she did a really nifty little comedy called One Mississippi, which if you haven't seen One Mississippi, do go and check that out. It's a
Sure.
very charming, I think 2 season, 6 episode a piece series, and it's Tig Notaro playing a Tig Notaro type, which is to say, wry and you know,
Very droll.
never short of a droll quip.
Yep.
Anyway, it's about her going back to Mississippi, where she's supposedly from, and dealing with fallout after the death of her mother. So it's packing down the house, reestablishing a relationship with sort of stepfather figure in her life, all this sort of thing. But when she's there, she ends up meeting this young woman who doesn't identify as being gay, but has a bit of a thing for Tig Notaro, and they couple up pretty quickly in the program. But anyway, that is Sally Ann. Interestingly, they got together in real life in a not
Yeah.
entirely dissimilar kind of a way. So you are watching a movie here from a real life couple who are co-directing this movie, which I think is kind of an interesting, uh, you know,
It has
duo
that air
partnership.
of, yeah, it doesn't strain to for the characters to make connections. It seems to have a very honest and real voice, and I think that obviously comes from the the real life pairing of Stephanie and Tig, and it benefits the movie terrifically. I know Tig Notaro. She sort of came into my sort of view when she was. There was a lot of publicity about her fighting and surviving cancer. And taking on, I think, was it a podcast she did, or was certainly on a lot of podcasts talking about how she overcame
Okay, well, do
that
you want to
terrible
know what it
disease.
actually was? Because this is one of these things that's been memory holed by, polite society.
Yeah.
Basically, she was a good friend, well, good friend, suddenly a associate of one Louis C.K. back in the day.
Yes.
And so he sort of provided a bit of an entry point for her to, come out and talk about it. So it
Sure.
was, I don't think it was necessarily through a podcast. I think that it was a comedy show that he went to and saw her talking about it on stage and then gave her a much bigger platform to be able to talk it
Yep.
through.
Yep. And what were the very cute sort of 10 or 15 minute things she did with and because she claims to be not at all well versed in the world of celebrity, and she would have people like Kaylee Cuoco on, and they would give hints as to who they are, and she had to, and Tig Notaro had to try and guess who the celebrity on her own chat show was. I thought they were very funny. They're probably on YouTube, and I'm speaking just from memory here off the top of my head. I haven't researched that at all, but I remember thinking they were very funny.
Yeah, she used to do a podcast. It was Professor something or other. I'm not too sure. I'm
Yep.
not like a huge sort of Tig Notaro fan. I just really liked One Mississippi. Tig Notaro I actually find to be a sort of frustrating presence on screen. I don't really wish her ill will because I think that she's, a fairly good egg generally. But I don't think that, she's necessarily the strongest actor. But because everybody likes her and there's a certain hip cachet to Tig Notaro, she gets cast in a lot of things that I don't think she
Yeah.
really has a lot of business being in. She's been a regular presence. I would dare suggest a regular black hole of charisma on Star Trek Discovery for a number of appearances through on that program. Also, she's been on the morning show a bit and just a bunch of other shows, which anytime she comes on is like, you know what, these programs aren't great and are not made better by Tig Notaro being on it.
I think you're being tough. There's that bitter streak in you once again. I think she does some. She's got a unique voice, and I don't just
I
mean a
think she's
unique voice in her delivery, but I
I
think
think
she's
she's a
got
talented
and I
stand
think
up.
that's showed up in Am I Okay? I think she finds she finds that this is a good vehicle for her way of speaking and her views on the world, and it plays well in this film.
Look, the point of comparison I'd say is that I think that if you think about, say, maybe Jerry Seinfeld recognized that he's not a very good actor. And despite the fact that he, portrayed himself in a TV sitcom Seinfeld, and he'll be the first to admit that he's the weakest performer of the foursome on that show, He didn't try to force a acting career after that, and I think Tig Notaro, also a comedian who's also not a very good actor, is probably better off doing what she's done here, which is getting behind the lens and filming something. Clearly, she's done a better job with this than Jerry Seinfeld did with his Pop Tart movie.
I think people should make their mind up. Am I Okay is on Binge here in Australia and Max in the US and on other streamers all around the world. Give it a look, especially if you have any doubts about one Miss Dakota Johnson. I think there's more than meets the eye. There's something bubbling below the surface with Dakota Johnson, and I like what she does with her characters and some of her choices. So the movie is Am I Okay? And available to watch now.
Okay, so it's time now to move to Land of Women, which is a new series debuting on Apple TV+.
My name is Gala Scott. Yesterday, my life was perfect. At least I thought it was. Wonder where Fred is. He should have been here by now.
Your husband running a little late, huh?
You friends of Fred's?
We're supposed to meet Fred here.
Oh, you're the caterers. How much do I owe you?
$15 million.
Simon, can I tell you a story? It's my own, we'll call it a coming out story from, oh gosh, what year would it have been? Like 2002 maybe? I was a young man in the prime of my heterosexuality. Went with a young woman on a date to go and see the Diane Lane movie Under the Tuscan Sun.
Oh, anyway. Okay. Yeah, this is one of your I was a young man going on a date stories. I love these. These come up occasionally, most of which I assume are true, but let's see how this plays out.
No, it was entirely true, just like all the rest of my stories. So I was out on a date with this young lady. We saw Under the Tuscan Sun, and that's when I actually realized the truth about myself, which is I really love movies where people go on overseas holidays and find love and romance under the Tuscan sun or similar types of European suns.
Lovely. Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm wild about it. It's a genre that I've got all the time in the world for. And so, cut to this week, I sat down to watch Land of Women, which is the brand new Apple TV Plus series, which is about a group of women that end up going to a Spanish town. I was just trying to find the name of it then. Can't find it. These women are three women who are related to each other. There's a grandmother, a mother, and a daughter. Some would say that the mother is also a daughter, but that's too confusing, so let's not go through that. The notable actor of those three is one Eva Longoria, who people would know from a little TV show called Desperate Housewives.
Sure, yes. I would also argue for some of our listeners that Carmen Mora is also a very well-known actress. She of the Almodovar films, and but yeah, certainly Eva Longoria is well known amongst most of us. I disrupted you. Do go on.
No, that's fine. It was my ignorance of not really being particularly familiar with Ms. Mora's work is the thing here.
No, she's a big deal.
Yeah, look, here's the thing. The idea of this one is, and I'm going to read the little log line from the Wikipedia here, a woman is forced to flee with her mother and daughter to Spain after her husband disappears in the wake of his financial dealings unraveling. When you're watching the show, I was trying to work out a polite way into this one. And the reason why I'm looking for a polite way into this one is because if you're looking for a TV show this year that you want to declare to be the worst TV show of 2024, this is absolutely that program. My God, Simon, I could not have hated this program more. It was just frustrating.
You're taking on the Apple Corporation by making that. How can you say that? They make such good stuff.
It's okay. I'm doing it on a MacBook. I'm reading off my iPad right now. I've got my iPhone in my pocket. I've got a pocket of AirPods as well. Like, they've got my loyalty. Okay. But the thing is, if I'm going to keep on putting crap like this into my eyeballs, then I'm going to have to reconsider all this technology I've been purchasing because, my God, Simon, this is the dumbest thing I've seen in some time. So you've got this lady.
Wait a minute. We're going to need a little bit more than that because...
we're getting there. Okay, so you got this lady who's having to flee the United States, okay, where she's supposedly opening a wine bar. And you look at this wine bar and it's like, well, I don't really know where the wine is. It just seems to be a function space in this large function that you've got. But we'll put all that aside.
Okay.
So you've got this lady who's having to flee the United States because the husband seems to be involved in some sort of mob type activity. There's some heavies who are trying to get their money back, and the husband's really nowhere to be found. Like, she sees him briefly. He's got his suitcase in hand and he's out the door. Okay, so she needs to get out of the country with the small amount of money she's got strapped to her tummy, and she needs to find her daughter who's at university and her mother who's in a retirement village. Now,
Right.
as is always the way in this kind of thing, the mother, oh, she's such a character. And then you got the daughter who's, a black hole of a character. She's really got nothing going for her. But she doesn't say to either of them, hey, look, we need to flee the country because my deadbeat husband, your father, your son in law, has, done us dirty. And so we need to get out of here and be safe. Instead, she doesn't tell them
Mhm.
anything and just says, oh, we've got to go overseas. Your grandmother's dying. It's her last wish to go back to the town that she grew up in. And so she's told that lie to the daughter. The mother, she's just kind of, I don't even remember now. It was just equal nonsense. They get to Spain, and fair enough, tell that lie so you can get through customs and get everyone safe to Spain and then tell them the truth. But there's none of that. Instead, there's just these ridiculous sequences where they go swimming in a local lake because the mother's reliving like a memory of being a young daughter, just a young daughter, a young woman taking off her top and entertaining a gentleman in that lake at some point.
Wow.
But then they all go swimming in there and all the money comes bubbling to the surface. And it's like, Mom, have you got all that money? And even at that point, she doesn't tell the truth to these people who probably need information like, hey, there are mobsters who are chasing after us and we could be in danger even here in Spain. That doesn't come up at all. And it's all just this constant doubling down on zany situation after zany situation,
Well,
which makes
that's
no
what I
sense at
was.
all because we're not watching human beings. Instead, we're watching like this weird vessel for Eva Longoria to show off these comedic skills that she doesn't really seem to actually have. And these dumb characters who are supposedly bright people who just don't even know how to exist with this woman in their space. It's
I
very
can see
annoying. And
this.
just turn after turn, they just do things which just spit in the face of the audience's intelligence because you just have to question, why am I watching so many stupid people on the screen?
All right, take a breath. Take a breath.
No,
You're worked up over this show.
it's
I want
not.
to is this a it clearly has farcical elements. Um,
No, I mean, it would
and
be farcical
is
if
it
there was
being
any comedic ability
wait.
on screen.
And is it's being pitched at a certain, and I should point out straight away that I haven't seen this. I haven't even seen a trailer for this, so I'm just playing the devil's advocate here a little bit.
I can tell you who it's pitched at,
Is it a
Simon. It is pitched at.
it's a pitch at a very farcical level,
No, I can tell you who it's
that
pitched at,
may or
Simon.
may not entertain a certain demographic that maybe we don't entirely speak to on this show.
Look, I will say it talks to a very undemanding audience, okay, who
Yeah.
expect very little from their entertainment.
No, that's our audience. No, that's
Maybe. Anyway, basically, I just found this program to be really, really insulting and really
no.
disappointing to both me as a human being with half a brain, okay, and then also as me, a fan of seeing people go off to far off exotic locations to fall in love and have quirky, meet cutes and stuff. None of that's really in
Yeah.
here because none of it's cute. It's just frustrating and annoying, and these people are all nitwits. Simon Foster, that's my
Wow.
review of Land of Women, which you can watch on Apple TV Plus as of this coming Wednesday.
Okay, well, let's just put a red line through it right there. I've got nothing else to say about it. I'm a fan of Eva Longoria. She's got lovely skin. She does those commercials on television for hydrochloric acid, and it shows she looks good. She's a very attractive lady, but clearly her show doesn't cut it. Land of Women, maybe steer clear. I can see your end of year worst list taking shape already.
I don't do an end of year worst list. I think that's offensive, but now I'm actually have a reason to do it.
All right, let's move on. What's up next?